Good morning. My name is Bhuvan for StudyIQ IAS. This is the Indian Express Explain class. Let's get started. If you have any particular questions related to whatever we discuss here today, you reach out to me on my Instagram ID that goes by the name of Bhuvan StudyIQ. Right? Your neighbor Bulbul. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining. Let's get started now. So the first topic that comes to you from the Express page. In fact, two articles, both are interlinked. Okay. So we need to just go ahead and understand them in totality. Right? Let's do that. Coder, good morning. How are you? So the first article is to do with the AI Safety Summit. Okay, the Global AI Safety Summit that just concluded, in fact, in Bletchley Park, that is in United Kingdom. Okay, very important, historically important place. We'll also discuss Bletchley Park in the discussion today. But first, let's understand what were the outcomes of this particular meeting, the AI Safety Summit. Okay. So the AI Safety Summit, Bletchley Park in United Kingdom. Now we were represented. India was represented by Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Okay. Now several important declarations have come. Why? Eventually, please understand that right now, the future of AI governance, the institutions are now going to be set up. Not just in India, but across the world. Okay. AI is, after all, an emerging, developing technology, right? Several issues you and I both know of that emerge out of the usage of AI. At least the ethical usage of AI is one concept that has been discussed a lot. Okay. So what you find is that the whole the global governance mechanism is now looking to go ahead and see how they can regulate artificial intelligence. Okay. Given that it can have negative consequences, negative applications. Right. So 28 major countries, including India. Okay. There it is. Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar was there. So 28 major countries, including India, agreed to sign on a declaration saying global action is needed to tackle the potential risks of AI. Do you understand that? Because AI, if I just go ahead and explain it to you in a simpler format, because AI is right now an emerging technology, right? And you also find that, well, besides its positive usage, you also have negative applications that can come up. So, for example, we have all seen, say, deepfakes, On your Instagram, you must have seen reels and songs featuring politicians, right, that are morphed images. More importantly, that is in humorous way. But then you also find deepfakes can go ahead and destroy an individual's credibility, life, Everything can be destroyed by using deepfakes, right? So you are going to go and find some way to regulate it. Right? You also look at the usage of AI in biotechnology. That's in newer forms, newer versions can be, say, researched and looked into. Right? So you're looking at the biotechnology aspect also, which may not be negative, but then it does have space for negative application. So given that AI has such an ubiquitous presence or will have an ubiquitous presence in the coming days, no wonder, and you must not be surprised now, that the global, say, focus right now is to go ahead and look to regulate this sector, right? And so to regulate this sector, how do you think they are going to do it? For regulating, you need institutions, right? Agencies and institutions that will go ahead and probably apply the laws, the benchmarks that are going to be set up, right? So you are going to have, say, institutions plus benchmarks. Both of them ought to be our focus area. Okay, so let's go ahead and understand the benchmarks and then we will understand the institutions. But before that, Bletchley Park, we'll discuss more about it in the discussion just 10-15 minutes from now. But Bletchley Park, the importance of it cannot be overstated. Okay, today we are used to modern computing, all sorts of, say, tabs and mobile phones and laptops and desktops. But where did it all originate from? Where did that concept come from? And so what you realize is that Bletchley Park, the work of Alan Turing, right, him breaking the Enigma code, the Enigma machine, which was used by the Nazis during the World War, that was the genesis of modern day computing, right? Which is why Bletchley Park is also almost a symbolic place to go ahead and hold this particular AI summit. Okay. So let's go ahead and understand first the Bletchley Park Declaration. What is it going to speak about? So here it is, Frontier AI. What is Frontier AI? The emerging technology, right? Which we are looking at that could go ahead and pose a threat to public safety. The risks right now are being discussed. Okay, so this is it. It acknowledges the risks from misuse or issues of control of emerging AI. looking at cyber security, biotechnology, disinformation, which I just related to right now, through use of deepfakes, right? So all of this is going to be addressed through the Bletchley Park Declaration. It's the first of its kind, the first AI summit, okay? Part of this summit is that a mini summit now will be held in the next 6 months in South Korea, and a full summit is coming up next year in Paris, France, okay? So these are also a part of the declaration. And this is it. Look at this, guys. This is the entire point of the discussion. How are you going to address the risks that I just showed you right now? You are going to have regulations, and you are going to have agencies that will employ those regulations, apply those regulations. That is it. International cooperation and a global governance model. Because again, many countries are not prepared for artificial intelligence right now. Okay? Do you realize you are only looking at 28 countries that have come and become a part of this, right? That includes India and the European Union and United Kingdom and USA. But obviously, you are going to have to include a lot more people in this conversation, right? So let's go ahead first and understand the American approach towards AI regulation. Okay? Jerin, Charu, Sheshmani, good morning, guys. Thank you for joining. बहुत बहुत स्वागत. So let's look at the American AI approach. Recently, you had President Biden who went ahead and issued an executive order. Okay. So that executive order essentially goes and looks at oversight into AI bots, ChatGPT, Google Bard, whatever it is. Okay. So oversight, governmental oversight over ChatGPT or Bard is now going to be the order of the day. It is going to be applied through this particular executive order. Now, AI companies are expected to share the results of the tests of their products. Do you realize this essentially means that if you have a product, it is going to be the government who will decide how risky is it for the public. So government eventually is taking on the role of almost an arbitrator or someone who is like an overseer in this department. Okay? Government may force a developer to tweak or abandon a product or initiative if the government so feels that it is going to pose a risk to the public. Now, this is obviously not sustainable in the long run. Okay? Eventually, you are going to have to go ahead and divest a lot more power. Right? Eventually, you can't have the government playing a nanny state. But what you realize is the American approach is still not the most extreme approach. Okay? We'll look at the European Union's approach, which is a little too extreme. We'll also compare it to the United Kingdom's approach, which is little less extreme. And we will look at the Indian approach, which is a lot more about collaboration and cooperation. Okay? But the American approach essentially is that the government occupies a key position in this transaction that happens between the public and the product developer. Okay? You are looking at watermarks. Remember, what are watermarks? That identification. Okay? So that watermarks is going to be on deepfakes so as to inform the user that, well, it is a what? It is a deepfake. Okay? So watermarks are going to be codified, right? Biotechnology firms, here it is. They are expected to take adequate precautions in using AI. Still too vague, is it not? It's not very specific. What precautions? But at least it is a start. Correct? Eventually, the specific laws, the specific regulations will come in. But this you are witnessing right now is the birth of global governance over artificial intelligence. Say, for example, when internet would have come up, today you look at organizations like ICANN. Correct? Eventually, these sort of organizations came up. Why? Because internet also needed to be regulated. There needed to be a certain order into the way internet functioned. Right? So this is it. You are looking at the birth of the global governance system of artificial intelligence. The different approaches now, let's look at it. So primarily, globally, there are three concerns regarding AI. Okay, you can just bracket them under three concerns. First, privacy. Second, system bias and violation of intellectual IPR. IPR essentially. What is system bias? You know by now that say our AI bots, for example, ChatGPT and Bard and all, what do? The results that they give to you are eventually taken from the internet. Right? It is collated from the internet and then it is provided to you. So what happens if this part is compromised? If for an example, an incident X, right? Rather than the truth, you have something else that is published on a majority of newspapers, right? Complete misinformation maybe. ChatGPT picks up that misinformation and then gives you that answer based on that information. That is system bias, which means you are looking at ways to go ahead and protect the final answer that ChatGPT and Bard throws out, giving you both the perspectives, in fact, probably, right? The correct perspective, in fact. So that is system bias. You're looking at violation of IPR. That should be, again, a major concern for most countries. So let's look at the European Union approach. It is much more tougher. It proposes to bring in a new AI Act that classifies artificial intelligence according to use case scenarios. Correct? Broadly agreeing on the degree of invasiveness and risk. So again, it's a much more tougher approach towards controlling AI. The United Kingdom's approach is a lot more relaxed. They say, well, it is fostering innovation, so fine. We'll give you that little bit of space that you might so require to go ahead and foster innovation. The American approach is somewhere in the middle. Whereas the Indian approach is risk-based user harm. Eventually, it is to protect the public. And India, again, when Minister Chandrasekhar's speech, when you go ahead and take a look at it, you will find that he talks about collaboration, cooperation between nations, expanding the scope of global AI governance beyond 28 countries to include more partners. Right? So this is India's approach so far. But then again, the Bletchley Declaration is the first declaration when you can probably understand the whole global will to go ahead and combat and regulate artificial intelligence. Okay? So this is it. The future of tech should be driven by a coalition of nations, cooperation, collaboration, and not just one or two nations. This is the Indian approach. More and more people, more and more heads should get together and then chart out a global governance system. It should not just be a select few countries. Okay? Right, let's go ahead and look at these two questions. What I expect you to do is leave your answers for me in the comment box. Okay? First question, the Responsible AI for All report. Who publishes that report? Okay? So, if you go recently, okay, in the Indian context, what you find is that in the last Lok Sabha session, question hour, right? So, Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, he said that India is not looking to go ahead and regulate AI right now. But then, what you find is that TRAI, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, has gone ahead and submitted a report that asks for government intervention in AI. You have also had Niti Aayog that has published a series of reports. Okay, so go ahead, research a bit for 5 minutes, figure out who has published the Responsible AI for All report and which country has announced a new supercomputer called Isambard AI. Russia, UK, USA or Japan? Let me know your answers in the comment box below and well, we'll see who gets the right answer on Monday. Okay. Meanwhile, before I go forward very quickly, within a minute, this is closing the P2I, the entire hand-holding course, okay, for all subjects, right from prelims up until your interviews. This is closing in 3 different languages, the admissions closing soon, okay, Hindi, English, bilingual, the language of delivery, okay, and you have extended validity period. So if you want to go ahead and prepare for year after next, good, now is a good time to go ahead and access this course. Or you're thinking more long term, fine, have a look at the course deliverables. The validity period will help you pace your study at your own say, convenience, okay. So again, if you're interested, which I suggest you should be, okay, because unless and until you're absolutely sure of your strategy and your sources and how you are going to go ahead and solve questions, answer writing, mentorship, if you have already got that figured out, good, all the best. If not, have a look at the course deliverables, use the code BALIVE as that assures you a substantial discount. And well, we get to get prepared and started. I will be taking care of your geography, your environment, your IR and obviously your CSAT. Don't worry about the CSAT bit. There are certain ways and methods in which you can go ahead and understand CSAT. Okay, so let's talk about Bletchley Park very quickly, guys. Okay, how many of you have seen this movie, by the way? Kisi ne dekha hai kya? So Bletchley Park, what I suggest is, if you do get free time sometime, go ahead and take a look at this movie, The Imitation Game. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, excellent movie, but it will tell you about the history of Bletchley Park, which is in discussion, by the way. Okay, if you want to understand the entire history of Bletchley Park, okay, after this discussion ends, find a free time slot of 2 hours, watch that movie. Why? Because it tells you the relevance of that particular location and how it eventually saved the United Kingdom. The situation was so dire during the World War that the Germans had an upper hand on the United Kingdom. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because they had a particular machine which they were using to go ahead and use as a cipher, encrypting their messages. So you might ask me, what's the big deal? Encryption can't be broken or what? Sure. But the problem here is that the encryption was so minute and it was so complicated, right, that you are looking at a quintillion possibilities that could arise, right? Quintillion possibilities that could come up if you wanted to break that code. There were quintillion options. Think of that way. That you have a UPSC question and you have quintillion options and you have to choose the right one. And to figure out the right answer, you only have 24 hours. Because once again, after 24 hours, the question changes. So a new answer is required now. Do you realize? So this was the challenge before the people of the United Kingdom and in the entire, say, the war cabinet. Okay. And they gave this responsibility to this scientist, one of the greatest minds, Alan Turing. Okay. So, what did Alan Turing do? He came up with a machine that broke this. He got the right answer to that question between quintillion possibilities, and he did that before 24 hours could end. He obviously took a long period to go ahead and build that machine, but then eventually they were going to go ahead and break the German cipher, the German encryption. And thus you had United Kingdom that had, you have historians write that because of the Turing machine or the Turing bomb it was called as, okay, because of the Turing machine, United Kingdom ended the war 2 years longer, 2 years earlier than it could have. Such was the impact of this individual, okay, which is why you find that the Global AI Summit is in Bletchley Park, which is where exactly he carried out this entire exercise, okay. So Alan Turing, the father of modern computing, one of the greatest minds to have walked on the planet, okay, he broke the Enigma code, and this is what? He has been immortalized, not that he needs to. He's much bigger than a movie. But for us mere mortals, go ahead and take a look at this movie. I suggest it's a must watch. Okay. So let's look at the Enigma code. So the Enigmas were cipher machines used by the Nazis to encrypt their radio messages. This is it. Right? A simple looking machine, but you found that the encryption was made of a quintillion combinations, and since settings were typically changed every 24 hours, manually breaking the code was near impossible. So every 24 hours, like I told you, the question would change. You would require a new answer. And thus you had Alan Turing, who invented the Turing bomb, also known as the Turing machine, right? That broke the Enigma code and changed the course of the war. After that, you also had another individual, Tommy Flowers, who broke the Colossus, right? The Lorentz cipher that was used by the German High Command. He made the Colossus, created the Colossus, another code-breaking machine. And thus you find that Bletchley Park has a lot of relevance in the history of United Kingdom. Okay, and thus you find that that is the exact place where they have gone ahead and hosted the first AI summit, because again, it's a place of technology, it's a place of learning, it's a place of innovation, more importantly, right? So this is again the Alan Turing's machine, the Turing machine, right? And this he took a substantial time to go ahead and build, but eventually this was the one that changed the course of the war. Okay, one of the foundational factors, in fact. Right, so if you have any questions, by the way, my friends, this is where you go ahead and connect with me. The two articles that we have done up until now, both from the Indian Express Explained. Now we go ahead and take a look at another incident, another article that is not in the Indian Express, but from the examination perspective, you ought to have an idea of it. Okay, and that caught my eye last evening. Russian courts sentenced 15 people over anti-Israeli riots in Dagestan. Okay, now what you realize is in the past, UPSC has gone ahead and asked questions that might be construed to be geography, but are actually talking about subregions. For example, earlier you have had asked, UPSC has asked questions on where is Amhara, right? Where is Catalonia, right? All of these subregions or say important geographical areas have been asked by UPSC several times in the past. Several times, not just 1 year. So you ought to know about Dagestan. Okay, so let's understand. Dagestan is essentially a province, okay, a province in the southern part of the Russian Federation. It is known as the Republic of Dagestan, but eventually it is just a province. Okay. Now, Dagestan's name translates as the land of the mountains, emphasizing hilly geography. It is again bounded by Caspian Sea on one side, you have the Caucasus Mountains on one side, right? So again, it's a hilly area, a uneven terrain, okay? You still require helicopter support to reach some areas of Dagestan, okay? So, it has borders with Georgia, Chechnya and Azerbaijan, right? And the Caspian Sea is located to the east. Here it is. Your Caspian Sea is here. Correct? 40 different ethnic groups, 30 languages, and the most populous ethnic groups, just know about them, are called the Avars. Okay, this is Dagestan, a part of the Russian Federation. Now, why is Dagestan important? Let's understand that. So, what you find is Makhachkala. It is the capital of Dagestan. Now, it is strategically located and it is an important part for the Russian Federation. Okay, essentially why? Because this gives them the, say, a nodal point for their oil and gas pipelines. You require now, you understand how important energy security is for any country. Right? If you have understood, in the past we have talked about, say, the Xinjiang, Uyghur, the entire issue, the human rights abuses of China in Xinjiang. And what we realize is, one of the key factors that drives China to do what it does is to make sure that that area is calm, peaceful for it, so as to pursue its BRI and its energy security pipelines in that area. Again, understand, Xinjiang is an energy-rich area, right? There is a lot of potential for energy extraction there. This is why the primary goal here is same again. Energy route, key energy corridor, protect it at all costs. Okay? So, Dagestan now serves as the route for oil and gas pipelines connecting the Caspian Sea to the other places. Climate, little bit of geography for you. Continental climate, let me know. What are the features of continental climate? Give me 2 features of continental climate if you can. Okay, what would you expect here? Right, let me know. Let's do a little bit of geography also side by side. Okay, so the questions that I have for you. Question number 3. Which of the following does not have a coastline with Caspian Sea? Okay, this year I would seriously suggest have a good idea of Black Sea, have a good idea of Caspian Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea, Dead Sea, whatever number of marginal seas that you can see. Learn about all of them. Okay, so here it is. Iran, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Russia. Which of them does not have a coastline with Caspian Sea? And you will also let me know whether Caspian Sea is freshwater, brine, saline or brackish. I have given you a figure that will explain if you still do not know the difference between, say, freshwater and brine water and brackish and saline water. Have a look at this. Okay? Good, Shivika. Please do. Let me know if you guys enjoyed that movie. Right? So, well, let's look at the questions of yesterday now. Very, very quickly. Yesterday we discussed about Koi Code. Yes? Funny thing, by the way, we discussed Koi Code and Gwalior yesterday and Indian Express carried that news today. So, for once we were faster than Indian Express. Okay? But okay, which of the following cities is not a part of the Creative Cities Network? Jaipur is a part, Varanasi is a part, Srinagar is a part. You also find Chennai is also a part here, Hyderabad is also a part here. Okay? So, none of the above being the correct answer. Identify the incorrectly matched. Bandish is composition. Alankar is the ornamentation of the singing. Okay, right? And Rag is obviously the melodic modes. It's quite simple, really. So, none of the above being the correct answer. All of them are correctly matched, in fact. Question number 3. Which of the following is in Karnataka? Simple question again. Anshi Wildlife Sanctuary is in Karnataka. I asked many students to go ahead and give me the north to south orientation of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. And I was quite surprised to see many wrong answers. Okay. What you have done is you have gone on Wikipedia and you have read the passage and you thought that is the north to south orientation. No. What you need to do is open an atlas. Okay. Start to go ahead and interact with your atlas a lot more. So what you find is that my north to south orientation of Nilgiri, first you have Nagarhole, then you have Bandipur Wildlife Sanctuary, Wayanad, Mudumalai, Mukurthi, and finally Silent Valley in Kerala. Right? Have an idea of this. It's quite simple. Make a note of this and after the class, go ahead and take a look at that entire tract and look at, say, the entire area of it. It's very simple. It's not very difficult. Okay? So, the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve comprises Silent Valley, Bandipur, Satyamangalam. All of the above is the correct answer. Quite simple. This was again answered primarily by 2 or 3 students only correctly, but I'm happy to see the participation. Right. So the individuals who answered the questions correctly for me yesterday, okay? User Gopesh, Anamika, Pranjul, Crystal, Harshit, Pooja, Neeraja, Vidisha, Karuna, Mandeep, Shubham, Tanvi, Satyabrata, Akhil, Vaishnavi, Coder, Revisit, Target, CSE and Gatso. I'm quite impressed. Okay, most of you have shown impeccable initiative and say the perseverance that is required, to go ahead and answer questions on a daily basis. To the rest of you, go ahead and make question solving a major part of your preparation. That's all I can say. If you don't want to solve the questions that I offer, fine, it's your call. But make sure that you are answering at least 20 questions on a daily basis. If you are not, well, you are going to be suffering at the end of this whole process, right? All right, that brings my whole class to an end. If you understood the topics that we discussed here today, do consider leaving me a like and a comment. And if you have any particular feedback, I'd appreciate it if you reached out to me on my Instagram ID. You will find the PDF of this entire lecture that I will be uploading on my Telegram ID. I normally do it around 12 noon, right? I might be a little late, aage piche. But then you will find the entire PDF on this Telegram channel where we also do a lot of giveaways, we do a lot of learning, question solving. Yes, resource-based, learning is done here. So go ahead and connect with me here. Till I'll see you on Monday morning, again at 7 a.m. in the next class of Indian Express Explained. This is Bhuvan Apurv Jha signing off for StudyIQ IAS. Thanks again, all of you, for watching. Have a safe weekend. Bye.